Good morning, Toastmasters AM Lockport. It is a wonderful July 15th, and our meeting today is starting right at 7 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Because I don't like being over there.
Hey, Mike, you're not muted. Mike, you're not muted. And so what we'd like to do is start off this morning with our invocation. And I'm looking and I don't see it labeled. Who is our invocator this morning?
Jim Wilkerson did not confirm, so it will be Eric.
I will take it. I will take it.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I would say we had Eric ready.
Oh, Eric's ready? Okay, go ahead, Eric.
Good morning. Oh. This morning's quote is from John Muir, naturalist John Muir. This grand show is internal. It's always sunrise somewhere. The dew is never all dried at once. A shower is forever falling. Vapor is ever rising. Eternal sunshine, eternal sunset, eternal dawn, and gloaming on sea and continents and islands, each in its turn as the round earth grows. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Eric. At this time, we say the Pledge of Allegiance. Please mute yourselves. I will lead. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And with that, we have a very exciting meeting planned today. I am going to turn it over to our Toastmaster of the day, a longstanding member, always the life of the party, full of fun and full of joy, as always, our Toastmaster today, Katie Orr. Katie Orr.
Good morning, everybody. How's the audio there? A little better? Okay, great. Good morning, and thank you for that introduction, Mr. President. And did we get any announcements? We've got Margot with an announcement. Margot?
Thank you. Just a reminder that our Barker Lions Club is organizing a trip down to the Comedy Center in Jamestown on Saturday, November 6th. And if anybody would like to join us, let me know. I'll get you the forms and the cost. We're going to be leaving Barker at 7 a.m. I know that's early. We get tours of 2 museums. We'll have lunch at the Lucy and Desi Copacabana Club. It's going to be a full day of fun. So if anybody else wants to join us, please let me know.
What's the date on that again, Margot?
Saturday, November 6th.
Thank you.
And it's being organized by our Barker Lions Club as one of our fundraisers, but at the same time, we just want to get out and have some fun. And we do have a couple Toastmasters joining us already. So if you want to, shoot me an email.
Awesome. Thank you, Margot. Can you email? Did you already email that to the club also?
Yep.
Okay, fantastic. I know I've heard.
But I can send it again if you want. Maybe I'm in the spam folder.
Awesome. Well, our top, any other announcements? Anybody? I didn't see any hands raised. Okay, we'll move right on into our meeting. It's great to see so many faces. Thanks for getting on today. And happy summer. We're in the thick of summer now. And I missed last week because I was in Texas and I was at a national park. And we've all heard Dr. Stevens many, many times talk about his travels. And I was always inspired by the speeches and enjoyed the speeches, but I never added those places to my bucket list. They were never somewhere that I thought I would want to go. That has changed completely since I visited Big Bend State Park in Texas. Oh, great. Karen's coming on. So we do have a guest from Rhetorical Roar, like Eric said in the chat. In any case, I was at Texas last week. Sorry, I missed the meeting, but I saw beautiful mountains, deserts, the Rio Grande River, got to wade in the river, didn't go to Mexico, but could have probably in a lot of places. Couldn't have gotten very far. The closest village was 200 miles away, but it was beautiful. And now with the friends we went with, we plan on going to a different national park every other year. So what better theme I thought than today to talk about national parks. And I thought maybe if I gave a little more time for our word master to come on, he would, but he didn't. Larry Eggert has volunteered to take word master. So we'll get right into the meeting and introducing all of our roles. Larry, do you have your own word, or were you taking me up on my offer of a word? Okay, let me get that situated and we will introduce our guest. Oh, her audio is still connecting. So we'll wait on that. All right. Well, let's get to a couple other word holders and then hopefully we get them another chance to use the word of the day as well. Oh, this is a tough one. I think our club can handle it. All right. I'm going to put it in the chat in a moment, I guess. I've got to work on my tech here. But let's introduce another job holder, so that gives me a moment. I'm going to jump to Margot as our general evaluator. Margot, please introduce your role for us today.
Thank you, Kate. Get it done now, out of the way right up front. Good for you. My job today will be twofold. Number one, to evaluate how the Toastmaster handles the meetings and the glitches that she's doing quite smoothly, since we all have them. And also to evaluate the evaluators to make sure they're doing the sandwich approach and encouraging our speakers today. As you probably heard earlier, there are only 2 speakers, so that makes it a little easier on me. And then if Kate wishes, I can call for jobs at the end, or if she does it, we'll figure that out at that moment. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Madam General Evaluator. I'm still working on that word, so I will move on to introduce my mom. Beth is our master.
Good morning, everyone. My job today will be to count the ums, ahs, the pregnant pauses, the filler words that we all do tend to use. Thank you very much. Back to you.
Thank you, Madam Master. Okay, let's get to our word master. And I was going to throw a difficult word at you, but I chose not to instead. We're going to have the word, and you all know what it means, and I'd like you to use it. And the word is preserve. We all try to preserve nature. We don't all try to preserve nature. We should all try to preserve nature, and our natural parks are a great place to do that. Larry, do you want to keep track of that and then report back at the end?
Yes.
Why, thank you. All right, I'll put the definition in the chat as well. Okay, is Karen on? Did she get her audio working? Oh, it's still connecting. Well, we'll introduce her later. Fantastic. We are going to have longer table topics today. Tom Moran is our table topics master when we get to that portion, because we're down a speaker today. Our alternate also had client issues this morning. So even though he was ready, now he can't be here. So I've already decided to have more opportunities for speaking. So we don't need any hip pocket speeches today. Let's move on then to our next role is grammarian. Marty Johnston is our grammarian today.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. It's a wonderful morning in Lockport, New York, and it's definitely worth getting up for AM Lockport. As grammarian this morning, I'll be paying very close attention, specifically listening, testing my listening skills for good uses of grammar and grammar that perhaps may need a little tweaking, if you will. I'll be reporting back at the end of the meeting. And I would just like to share that if I could visit a national park, it would be the Rocky Mountain National Park in Colorado, where my oldest sibling moved to a month ago into Colorado. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grammarian. And for reminding me that if you would like to also share your favorite park or the park you'd like to go to next, or a park that you've always thought about visiting, please share that as you explain your role. Thank you, Mr. Grammarian. Our next role today is our quote master, Mike Florio. Do you have a favorite park, or you want to go somewhere and share a quote with us?
Sure, I'll do both. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our guest. I'd say my favorite park is Estes Park in Colorado. And it was beautiful, majestic. I mean, everything that you could possibly imagine. To see the deer and the antelope play, not just one or two, but herds. You know, when you see a herd of antelope, we're over 100, and it's right there, and a moose was within 100 yards of us. I just couldn't believe it. So anyway, that was amazing. And you can't really talk about national parks without mentioning Theodore Roosevelt. Okay, and Teddy was definitely one to preserve nature, and he had a myriad of quotes. And it was this was probably the easiest job for me to do, is find a quote from Theodore Roosevelt, because there's a bunch of them. And I usually do my research the night before looking for quotes, and I was just kind of mesmerized by all of his quotes, and I kept reading more and more. Next thing you know, it's 11 o'clock, and I go, I gotta get to bed. So I'll share a couple of them with you, but really, you should, if you can, read a few of this guy's quotes. I mean, he's been gone from us for over 100 years. He died in 1919, and it's really prolific what he's done, that it still resonates now, some of the things that he talked about back then about conservation. So here's one. There is a delight in the hardy life of the open. There are no words that can tell the hidden spirit of the wilderness, that can reveal its mysteries, its melancholy, and its charm. The nation behaves well if it treats the natural resources as assets, which it must turn over to the next generation, increased and not impaired in value. Conservation means development as much as it does protection. And wow, I can't believe, I mean, that he had that much foresight. Anyway, last one, and I'll let everybody go. We have fallen heirs to the most glorious heritage a people ever received, and each one of us must do its part if we wish to show that the nation is worthy of its good fortune. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Mike. Beautiful quotes from a man who is renowned for his conservation efforts and preserving our country for future generations. Our jester today is Mark Campos. Welcome back, Mark.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our guests. Good morning. That's a tough act to follow. I guarantee you I will be far less profound this morning. So here we go. A man from Czechoslovakia was visiting his cousin, who's a lawyer in California, and they decide to go for a hike in Yellowstone Park. While they're hiking, they're attacked by a pair of bears, a big male and a slightly smaller female. The male bear quickly dismembers and eats the Czechoslovakian man, but the lawyer managed to escape. He runs straight to the nearest ranger station, told them what happened, and they sent out a group of rangers to see what was going on. Sure enough, the rangers arrived at the place of the attack and saw the bears nearby. One of the rangers took his rifle and shot the smaller female. So the other rangers asked, "Why did you shoot that one?" He said the male ate his friend. And the shooter replied, "Would you believe a lawyer who said the check is in the mail?" Madam Toastmaster.
Oh, God. Mark, do you have a favorite national park or somewhere that you would like to go?
thinking, I'm not sure that I've ever actually been to a national park now that I think about it. So I guess I would probably say Yellowstone.
Thank you very much.
Safe answer, right?
It's safe. It's the most visited park in America of the national parks. There are 63 specific national parks, but there's over 400 national parks and designated locations. So you may have been to one and didn't even realize it. Ellis Island, things like that. Being from New York City, there are small areas that are designated.
Maybe Liberty Island. Maybe Liberty Island National Park. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Mark. Our next role holder today is our timer, Thomas. Favorite park and your job today.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. My favorite park is actually our local park, Niagara Falls. One of my favorite spots is the Honeymoon Falls and the bridge that goes over it. My least favorite is Death Valley out in Nevada. I spent 30 days. Fort Ord military training base is out there for desert training, and spending 30 days in a Death Valley is not fun. I would have to say that was my least favorite park to actually visit. The job today that I have is to keep and preserve the chronological integrity of the meeting and our speakers as timer. Now, as timer, I'll be putting up 3 different backgrounds so that you know what's going on. I'm going to show them now. You have green, which means you're good. You've met your time. Yellow means your time is running short, time to wrap it up. And red is you have officially gone over time, but the buffer is still applying. So make it really fast. So for our speeches today, we start with table topics, and that's 1.5 to 2 minutes, with a 15-second buffer on each side. The speeches today, the 2 speeches, are 5 to 7 minutes with a 30-second buffer. And then our evaluators will get 2 to 3 minutes, also with a 30-second buffer. With that, back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Thomas. I don't ever want to go to Death Valley. Definitely not on my bucket list. Thank you. And Mark said he's been to Joshua Tree. That looks beautiful there. I would love to go there eventually someday. Moving on with our roles. Sylvia is our tech and gesture master. Sylvia, do you have a favorite park or least favorite, I suppose, or somewhere you'd like to go? And what's your role?
The last park I was at was Joshua Tree. Talk about a weird place, California. That was the last one. We went there last August, actually. And the stories around there of people disappearing, it's like a sci-fi movie. My most favorite right now, of course, is New York State. We have many here, and Niagara Falls, of course, gotta be my hometown. Today, I will be looking at gestures. Try to do your hands today, or sit back and do some gestures so we could see them and evaluate everybody's technology, what's going on. That's my role.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sylvia. Maybe I don't want to go to Joshua Tree then and disappear. All right. Our quiz master today is Jackie. Any favorite park stories or and also your role?
Well, I think probably my favorite park story would be sitting and watching Ken Burns' documentary series on National Public Radio. It gives you the origins, the history, the people who managed to bring this all together and preserve all of this beauty for all of us. And I'm going to be listening carefully to what people have to say this morning and working up some good questions for the end of the meeting. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Jackie. And Ken Burns, amazing shows and an amazing voice. And thank you for bringing that up. Definitely. Our next I think we will move right into table topics. I could talk about national parks a lot, but I'd rather keep hearing what you all have to say. So Tom Moran is our table topics master, and he will be giving extra opportunities since we're down to 2 speakers today. And I would say call on folks who don't have roles first, but anyone is fair game. And our word of the day is preserve. Thank you, Tom.
Oh, excuse me, I was eating a muffin and it fell on the floor, and I think I got some preserves on the floor. So, but I'm okay now. I've been to quite a few of the national parks. I noticed, however, that most of them are on the West Coast for some reason. California, Utah, Colorado, and we have very few up around here. I've been to Arcadia up in Maine, but I can't think of a lot of them up here. I didn't look up I think Katie said 63 national parks in America. I didn't look them up. And I was wondering if anyone has been to a national park on the East Coast that maybe we have overlooked. So I'm going to ask Larry Eggert, since he doesn't have anything next to his name. Do you have a job, Larry?
I am the word master, but I'd be more than happy to jump in.
No, I'll give you a break. Phil, a job opened up for Phil this morning. He didn't have to complete his evaluation today. I'm guessing you're free to speak of the national parks. Phil, we don't have much on the East Coast here. Is there an area here you can think of that we should maybe have Congress consider making a national park? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Mr. Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters. Doesn't have to be done. It's already done. We have the Adirondacks. It's a beautiful park. That was one of the very first parks in the country. It's huge. Just go there. But I'm going to change the subject a little bit, Tom. I took my sister, Jeannie, the baby sister, on a little trip one time. I started off in Tucson, Arizona, went through, it was the, through the parks in Arizona. We met in Vegas, and we got there about morning. We went to the casino. All of a sudden, Jeannie said, hey, we had basically broken even. They bought us breakfast and said, oh, let's go to bed. Well, we got outside. It was daylight. So it says, okay, let's continue this journey. Well, we took off and we started out. She went swimming in the reservoir outside of Vegas. And then we went to the Grand Canyon, North Rim. That's a sight. Then we went to Bryce in Utah. Then we went to Zion. Then we had to stop and see my sister Lisa in Colorado. Of course, there's a few parks there you already mentioned. Zion or Estes, a few. They're pretty cool. Then we took, after a few days in Aspen, we took the long trek across the country. Flatlands, gorgeous, beautiful time. And where did we end up? Well, it was at Niagara Falls. We had to do it. Grand Canyon to Niagara Falls. I'm telling you, that was one great trip. With all those parks in between, you haven't seen the country until you've done that. It is the greatest way to have your memory preserve all of those wonderful sights. Mr. Topics Master.
Tom, you're on mute.
I'm still wondering about the answer to that question. A national park is much different than, say, Outwater Park, that sort of thing. It has to be made a national park by an act of Congress. So you can't just say, let's make this one a national park. It has a lot of more work to be done. And I'm saying on the West Coast, there's all kinds of them, and up along California, Oregon, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico. They all have national parks. We don't have one in New York State. Is there some place in New York State that you could consider to be a national park and would actually promote, perhaps to your congressman or whatever, that it be made a national park? Now, I'll go to Tracy because Tracy's pretty reliable when it comes to table topics. I know she's not going to switch it up on me. So would you welcome Tracy Farrell? Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master, and thank you for having so much confidence in me for not switching it up. As far as New York State national parks, I honestly am not aware of any either. Niagara Falls must be a national park, and Katie's saying yes, so I got one right. I believe Niagara Falls is beautiful, and I also think New York State is one of the most gorgeous states in the United States. We have so much land and forests. I think down south, the Adirondack State Park or Allegheny, whatever's down there. I love going down there. I have gone down there. That schoolhouse park, it's fun. I'm not a big camper. I used to do that when I was a little kid. I remember going there in the middle of the winter, staying overnight in some little cabin. We froze to death, but as a little kid, when you're 12 years old, it was fun. So I did enjoy doing that. I love going through those parks. This past weekend, we just came back from Ithaca, and right in there in the gorge, it's gorgeous. And I really love going down through those parks. I didn't get a chance to do that, but that's on my bucket list also to do that. I think the Erie Canal should be considered one of those national parks. There should be a trail right along there designated by New York State that we have a hiking trail along there. And I know the Finger Lakes, they have their trails, walking trails that do designate that. And you can do all these trails and have a hiking passport. It would not be a bad idea to have a hiking passport along the Erie Canal. We have so much history there that needs to be preserved. It's a huge asset to our area. We could even say the locks in Lockport should be a national park. It is an engineering miracle, the way they've done things and the way that it goes down. We have also Day Road Park in the town of Lockport. It's kind of cool back there because there's waterfalls and hiking trails back there. As far as my favorite park, not to switch it up, Tom, but out on the West Coast, I went to the Petrified Forest that I thought was so cool as a kid because there's these petrified trees. And I remember I didn't even realize the time was up, but you're not supposed to steal the rocks. And as a little kid, I still have that little petrified rock. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters.
Thank you, Tracy. I can't believe you took a rock. I guess we'll go with that. There is several people have different things on their bucket list. I'll move off of the national parks here. I can see Dr. Stevens is chomping at the bit to talk about something here. He's a traveler and he likes the park system, and I'm going to let him just go off on his own here and talk about his travels or his anticipated travels. Dr. Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. In regards to national parks, yes, my bucket list is to do all of them, 63. I'm about halfway there. I do have a big trip planned for the summer, and I am going to see 5 of them. I believe it's 5. Arches National Park is one, but you know what? A lot of people are heading to these national parks in the summer. I saw on CNN that this couple arrived at Arches National Park early in the morning, we'll say 7:30, and they came upon a sign that said, "Come back 3 to 5 hours from now." Now, can you imagine a carload full of kids? You have limited time on your vacation. You come to that sign. That'd be a tad disappointing. So I will be getting up early to get to these national parks. I have been to Arches, my wife has not, so I'm going to go there. Going to Black Gunnison Canyon, going to Mesa Verde National Park. That's like an Indian cliff dwellings, which should be pretty cool. Capitol Reef National Park and Canyonlands, known for a lot of rock climbing and sandstone cliffs and whatnot. So that should be pretty cool. So I'm excited to do all that. I do not know what the word of the day is. I'm sorry. So I cannot necessarily use the word of the day. If someone would help me with that, that would be awesome.
Preserve.
Thank you. So that is the word of the day. Preserve, you said?
Preserve.
Thank you. So that is my plan, and I look forward to that. And I will definitely have a tale or two afterwards to tell you guys. Hopefully it won't be too hot. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Dr. Stevens. Do I do more, Katie? 2 more? Well, let me see if we even have 2 more people here who haven't had a job. Where did our guest go? Or is our guest here, Karen? No, guess not. I see Dave Licata down there. Dave, tell us about what national parks you've been to and your impression of the national parks in the United States. Do we have enough? Do we need more? Can you please expound?
Mr. Table Topics Master, I am sitting here racking my brain, and sadly, there's a good chance that I've never been to a national park. What? But to preserve your original question, we have a 200-pound, or no, excuse me, I have a 2-ton elephant in the room. It's very close to us. It's called Letchworth, and Letchworth is a state park. And that could easily be, they could throw the switch on that and make it a national park. Letchworth is the amazing Grand Canyon of the East. It's a very beautiful park. For people in Western New York, I was surprised at how quickly you get there because, you know, you get to Batavia and you just shoot down that road and bang, it's right there. I am going on a mission though, Tom. I may find a national park because the final week of July, my wife, myself, and my 2 boys will be in Hawaii. And perhaps we can find a national park over there so I can finally lay claim to being in a national park. I'm so glad that Teddy Roosevelt came up earlier. He went west because incredibly he suffered the loss of his wife. His wife died during childbirth. And then 1 bedroom over, his mother was dying on the same day. So that's when he just left the little girl, the newborn, with his sister, and he went out west to see the beauty of the West to help him cope with the grief of losing a mother and a wife on the same day. So that's why we go to these parks, to cope, to be reminded of simpler times, to be out in nature, to breathe the fresh air. So I am a big advocate of national parks, state parks, and heck, I even go 1/2 mile from here now and then when I need my batteries recharged, and I just sit in Outwater Park for a while. So we can't say enough about the national parks, can't say enough about the federal government's effort to preserve them, and they certainly are a treasure. And I'm looking forward to my secret mission, and I will report back on any national park I can find in Hawaii. I'm 98% sure there's one there, but now you've given me a homework assignment. So I thank you for that,
Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Mr. Licata. There is actually a national park. There's a couple of them in Hawaii. I've been to the one, the volcano on the Big Island, and you can get amazingly close to that. You can walk up on the lava, and you can see the steam coming up out of between the cracks and that, and you can actually feel the heat. It's amazing, and there's nobody around really to stop you from doing stuff. So, but you can't take any of the lava, so
Yeah. Kind of hot and
like
sticky
that.
anyway.
Oh, Carol Hallstatt. I'll bet you Carol's been to a bunch of parks. And incidentally, my favorite national park I was at several years ago. It's called Bryce Canyon, and it's a small national park, and it's very relatable. You can walk down in it. You can see the different arches that were formed over the years, and you can actually, just hang out there. It's not a huge park. It's very accessible. So I kind of like that versus the Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon is pretty massive. So I prefer the small one, and Bryce would be my choice of a national park. So Carol, I gave you plenty of time to get anxious about this. Now, I didn't anticipate asking 5 questions, so I really don't have anything specific for you, but I know you've listened to other people respond to questions. So I'll let you go with whatever you want to talk about on national parks. Try to keep it on national parks, and you can free flow here. So we'd like to hear from you, Carol Hallstatt. Right, and thank you, Carol.
I have been to 2 national parks. I went to Acadia National Park with my husband before we had children, so it's been over 40 years ago. But I was very impressed. At some point, as you're looking out, you see what they call the Porcupine Islands, and they're shaped, the shape of the trees on it, they actually do look like porcupines. And they did mention that if you're looking south, the first landmass is Brazil, I believe they said. And I've been to Volcano National Park when we went to Hawaii in November of 2019, prior to COVID. And it is very impressive to see the volcano steaming. But my favorite park is a state park, Letchworth. We usually go there every fall and take the same pictures of the same colorful leaves every year. And I'm very glad that William Pryor Letchworth had preserved that area of beauty so that it would never be developed. I like the sound of the Middle Falls, and the Upper Falls has a railroad going across, and we always watch for the train and usually take a picture of the train going over the waterfall. And some of my ancestors are Senecas who lived in the Letchworth area. And when I'm there, sometimes I think, gee, some of my relatives may have walked this area, and we very much enjoy the museum of the history of the area. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Tom, I think you're on mute again.
I think if I were gonna plan a trip and go to a national park, I would go out west again, because there's just a plethora of them out there. the one place I would like to go, and I may even plan the trip around it, is it's not a national park, but it is in Red Rock Canyon. And it's a natural amphitheater type setting where they put on concerts. I had a friend of mine texting me it was 2 years ago. And she was at a Snoop Dogg concert there. And it just looked amazing, the whole setting for that concert and so on is incredible. So that would be on my bucket list to do. The timer this morning, was flashing red quite a bit for several speakers. So I think people like talking about the national park. How much did they like talking about it? Our timer, Thomas Hedlund.
Yes, they did. And you know what? Excellent speaking, good overall topics, and enjoyable to listen to. This morning, the one of two people who did not get the red was Phil at 2:03. Tracy spoke till 2:50, does not qualify. Gerald spoke for 1:42, right there dead in the center, so he qualifies as well. Dave spoke for 2 minutes and 45 seconds, and Carol spoke for 2 minutes and 25 seconds. So the two that qualify time-wise are Phil and Dr. Stevens Gerald.
Okay. Thank you. And our word master this morning, I believe, is that Larry Eggert. Larry, how did they do on using the word today?
4 out of the 5 speakers used it. The only one that did not was Tracy Farrell that I could hear.
Thank you. So I think we'll get a ballot up there. I know Larry McKenzie was working on that. Well, no, he couldn't have worked on it. Do you have a ballot ready there, Mr. McKenzie? Okay, he's ready to go. I'll turn it back over to our lovely Toastmaster today, Katie Orr. Katie, it's all yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Table Topics, and thanks for rolling with it. And thank you all our members for participating. I will expound on Big Bend National Park, where I visited, in a future speech. I'm very much looking forward to sharing some stories. It's known as a dark sky park because there are no cities anywhere nearby, and the stargazing is amazing. The closest city is 3 hours away, El Paso. The hiking we did, the horseback riding up and down the old mercury mines, the fossil hunting is something interesting. Texas is full of old dinosaurs, if you think about it, as we drove hours and hours and hours across West Texas to get to the Rio Grande. That's why the Big Bend is called that park, because it's where the Rio Grande bends in a hook shape. We were driving by hundreds of oil rigs, and our friend commented, they're digging up the dead dinosaurs, which they are. I never thought of it that way, that all the oil left behind is that organic matter from the dinosaurs. In any case, we got to see amazing fossils, lots of nature. I'm wearing a shirt, you cannot see it, but it's got the, I shouldn't have done that, but it's got an Ocotillo cactus on it, and it was beautiful. And then our artist, get your toasts ready, because I'd like to toast to these national parks. An artist who we met at the gallery where I bought this shirt, he had a little bonfire going for the 4th of July. And he said, don't you people know it's July in Texas? Nobody ever comes to this park, and they are so busy, like all the parks are, because of COVID last year. Silver linings to silver linings, and getting out to the parks, busier than ever. Let's keep it going. Thank you very much, fellow Toastmasters. Let's roll into our speaking portion of our meeting today. Our first speaker will be Dr. Stevens, and he is going to be evaluated by Jen Zapla. Jen, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Kate. I will be Gerald's evaluator today, but before I get started, I just have to say that I was getting very excited during the meeting today because I have an exciting national park trip planned in September. I'm not going to give away too much about where I'm going and what I'm doing, because I would like to tell you all about it at a later time. Now I will introduce Dr. Stevens. the purpose of his speech today is for him to learn or review basic research methods and present a well-organized, well-researched speech on any topic. He is doing the researching and presenting speech, as you may have assumed during my reading of the purpose statement there. And Kate, do you have his title? Because it is very apropos to our theme today.
Yes, I do. Thank you very much, Jen. Dr. Gerald Stevens, Yosemite, My First Love. Yosemite, My First Love, Dr. Gerald Stevens.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters and our guests. Yosemite, My First Love, an American national park in Northern California, UNESCO World Heritage Site, granite cliffs, waterfalls, pristine lakes and streams, greenery everywhere, meadows. They even have a Mariposa Grove, which contains sequoias. Beautiful place for sure. Elevation ranges between 2,000 to 13,000 feet. Habitat for 160 rare plants. Park itself is 750,000 acres, 95% forest preserved. In 1864, Abraham Lincoln signed a Yosemite grant. Now that's a long time ago. Abraham Lincoln, Civil War times, thinking ahead, preserving our country. Love it. So he started that. 1890, John Muir got involved to expand the park. And then he finally convinced our president, Teddy Roosevelt, who was mentioned earlier, in 1903, to make it a designated national park. I want to show you a few pictures. Let's do some screen sharing here. So this is, to me, Yosemite National Park, my first love. The huge granite cliffs there are just amazing. This is close to what is called the Tunnel View, which is considered one of the top 10 views in the country. It's very similar to that. Second slide here is Yosemite Falls. Huge falls in the granite cliffs there. And we got Vernal Falls over here, which is a nice picturesque falls. One of two of many falls that are there. Different types of levels of hikes that you could do. The one to the top of the Yosemite Falls is pretty intense. This is El Capitan, famous place. A lot of people rock climb up for sure. And this is Half Dome. You could rock climb up this as well. And I actually climbed up the back of this monolith. And when you get to the end of the monolith, you have this thing called the Half Dome cables that you go up. So I've talked about this and I will talk about it again, this hike. So you get to this point and you have these cables that you go up. And it's pretty steep and you see there's all these people here, right? And kind of holding on to the cables and these wooden planks that go across and these poles that come out of the ground. They actually come out of the ground while you're going up there. A little scary. And you may be familiar with the adventure that goes on in Yosemite. Free Solo is a movie there where they had this guy rock climb all the way up, National Geographic, up El Capitan. He did it all in one day. It's amazing to me. And this is actually the top of Yosemite Falls, which is exactly where I stood. It isn't me, but exactly where I stood. It's pretty crazy looking over that. So it gives you kind of an idea what the park's about a little bit. So let's stop screen sharing and go on with the speech. So I've been to Yosemite 7 times. I used to live out there. I've gone in the winter, pretty much every season. When you drive into Yosemite, you see this massive view of everything and you're just like, wow, that's insane. Imagine the first time I went to my first love, which when I was 18 years old, never been to a national park. And I went with the outdoor club. We camped. I used to be a Boy Scout, Eagle Scout. Camped in the winter, no big deal. That's where we went. And we stayed there in tents. Sounds insane to some of you guys. And we had a campfire. And I remember around the campfire, Annie Gubitosi playing the acoustic guitar. And we're singing Christmas songs. We sang Danny's song, if you're familiar with that. And also The Gambler, Kenny Rogers. Good times for sure. But while we were singing one of those songs, Rudolph Red-Nosed Reindeer, a deer came out of the woods as if summoned magically to our campsite, full rack buck. And we're just like, what is going on? This is insane. So that's one memory I have of Yosemite for sure. I should give you some tips though for going to Yosemite. It does get crowded, 400 million visitors a year, not as visited as Yellowstone. Definitely got to time it out. You got to reserve everything probably a year in advance. And they do have lodges. They do have tent sites. Certainly they have, you don't have to bring a tent. They have tents already set up on a platform. So you can go there. There is a lot of traffic in the summer, so I don't recommend peak times myself. Hard to time out because the winter sometimes lasts a long time in the mountains. So spring is tough to time out. So fall might be an ideal time after peak season, and you can see the leaves changing. Winter's okay too. You might think that's insane. Less people for sure, but you get to see all the snow on the granite cliffs and mountains, which is totally impressive. So what's another story about Yosemite? I've been there a bunch of times. I did climb that half dome from the back there. Back then I was pretty fit. Used to run 8 miles a day, 15 on the weekend. It's considered very strenuous. And when I hiked that hike, I went with my friend and I remember 2 things from that hike. We got to the steps that were super steep. And then we went up the steps and I was totally exhausted. And I looked over to my right and saw those cables. And I just laughed because I knew this is insane. And we went up them anyway. My friend's arms were shaking as we went halfway up. He thought he was going to take out all those tourists that were below him. We went on the outside of the cables, which is slightly more insane. And then we made it up to the top. But on the way back, my friend was too tired and ran out of water. So I sent him down a different way. We did the panoramic trail, 20 miles. And I went back to the car, which was Glacier Point. And that was where we saw a bear and 2 cubs, black bear, early in the morning. So this trek lasted from 5 a.m. all the way to like 10 p.m. So when my friend arrived back in camp, my fiance at the time, my wife Maureen now, he arrived with a margarita in hand and by himself. And he asked, "How you doing today?" That's what he said to her. She said, "Where's Gerald?" Well, Gerald is still up there. So she thought he left me behind. So pretty insane. Yosemite, my first love. I can't wait to go back to see my first love again. Greet me with open arms, with warm, sunny smile, and I'll give her a big hug. I can't wait to see her again. I'm sure she will look as magnificent as I saw her the first time. Madam Toastmaster.
Bravo to your first love. Thank you, Dr. Stevens. Our second speaker today is Larry McKenzie, and he is evaluated by Dr. Moklis Roman. Dr. Roman, you have the floor.
Good morning, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests, Karen, and of course, Larry. Larry's speech is Presentation Mastery, Level 3, Persuasive Speech. To understand the types and deliver one. Its purpose is to be organized and appeal, and I repeat, appeal to emotions, ethics, and or logic. You have the title, right?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much, Dr. Roman. Our second speaker today, Larry McKenzie, The Climb. The Climb, Larry McKenzie.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. This morning, our topic today is national parks. It's a great topic, but I have to tell you, as Dr. Gerald said, he had a first love, and his was I believe, I forgot what it was. Oh my gosh. But my first love is not a national park. His was Yosemite. I did remember. Mine is Snow Canyon State Park. So you may wonder, well, what is Snow Canyon State Park? Well, I have to tell you, 11 years ago, I set out on a journey, and it was one of those things in my life where I think we all come to that point where most times we're caregivers for somebody else. And we really don't take the time to think about ourselves and our well-being. I needed to. I went to a place out in Utah, Southwest Utah, a little town called Ivins, Utah. And when I went there, I went to this camp, which is right behind me. Now, the camp was called Fitness Ridge at the time, later became part of The Biggest Loser TV show program. And this is the camp that they had out in the West. I have spent over the course of a 3-year period, almost 3 months there. You may say, what? 3 months? Yes, 3 months. And it was for my well-being. And one of the things that I must tell you about this wonderful place is you pay to go there, obviously. And in going there, what we did was had the opportunity, and I'm going to share this with all of you today. Fitness Ridge, that is the camp in the background there, as we noticed. The pool, we did pool aerobics, and that was part of our daily routine. One of the things that we did was we were up at the crack of dawn, 5 a.m., because at 5:30, we would don our name badge and we would head down to, yes, the buses. Now, when we got on the bus, you may ask, well, what are you doing at 5:15, 5:30 in the morning? Well, it's sunrise in southern Utah. And usually by about 10:30, 11 o'clock, the temperature in July is well over 100 degrees. We hiked first thing in the morning. At 5:30, we were in the buses. We were heading to our hiking locations, and every day was a different location. So who needed sleep? We didn't need sleep. We were ready. We had our camelbacks on our back. We were ready to take on the journey of the different hikes each day. So you may say, well, where are we going? Well, we had many hikes that challenged us. And as you may see, this is one of them. This was called Awesome Chasm. Awesome Chasm, we were tested not only with our hiking abilities, but also we had to do some climbs. And the climbs were part of the Snow Canyon State Park. Now, Snow Canyon is a state park which is in the Red Cliff Desert Reserve. The park features a lot of different things that are carved out of the red and white Navajo sandstone of the Red Mountains, as well as the extinct Santa Clara volcano, lava tubes, lava flows, and sand dunes. And as I heard a little bit before, someone had mentioned about taking rocks or different pieces of petrified. Well, there they had these lava rocks. And these lava rocks were much older than many of us put together. And they are protected. It's part of the preserve, and you're not allowed to take them from the park. Now, they say that they do have some healing qualities. As you can see here, climbing up the side of the stone was tough. We had to work as a team. We made it, and when we got to the top, it was always time for a photo opportunity. As you can see on my shirt, one of the sayings that many of us had was, shut up and sweat. So in other words, don't complain. You're there for yourself and focus on that. This is a picture from the top of Awesome Chasm. As you can see, it was cut out of the sandstone. This was me at the top of Awesome Chasm. And as you can see down below, that's part of the Snow Canyon State Park. We were at the bottom of that before we reached that summit, and it was an awesome climb. Now, once we returned back to the camp, which was approximately 9 a.m., We were treated to our wonderful meals that they had served for us. Everything was given. We had nothing that we could do on our own. Breakfast, we had an egg sandwich, 289 calories. Lunch, artichoke soup. This was one of our typical menus, all about 1,200 calories per day. Then after lunch, after breakfast, we would head out to work out. We would be in the gym. We would have typically about an hour in the gym. Then we would have a 10-minute break and we would head off to something else, maybe the pool. Well, those were 12-hour days from 5:30 till usually 5 o'clock every day. But bringing me back to my passion, Snow Canyon, the beautiful red rocks, the majestic red rocks. And from the bottom of the entrance to the park to the top of the park, it's 3.4 miles to the top of the park. That is one of the hikes. And the goal was to get to the top. The elevation was over 4,000 feet from bottom to top. When you got to the top, this is what you saw, and that is Route 16 behind us there. You saw the stop sign. The goal was to make it to the stop sign, and everybody, I believe there's a lot of germs on that stop sign because everybody that got to the top would hug it and kiss it. And the goal was to get there and hopefully get there and make it back to the bottom within your time frame. That didn't happen for quite a while because most of the time it took all you had just to get to the top. But when you did get to the top of things, you felt great. You felt wonderful. And the climb was part of the journey. And the journey, these are some of the people that I hiked with. And as you can see, I was probably not the most fit of them all, but I made it. Camelback was another one of my favorite hikes. We would climb, and that's the top of Camelback. That's the opportunity that we had to climb that. When you reach the top, you would always have your photo op, of course. Top of Camelback. And the gentleman to my immediate right there is a renowned author. He is the world-renowned coconut expert, believe it or not. So post-walk pass out, that's me. Yes, I enjoyed it, but it was tiring. The climb. But the best part is I survived the climb. And I challenge each one of you, put yourself out there. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Larry. May I have a timer's report, please, Thomas? Did everyone?
Sorry for the delay. All the backgrounds and everything else was over top of the mute button, so I had to close them all first. Well, Dr. Gerald Stevens this morning spoke for 7 minutes and 40 seconds, just outside the 30-second buffer. I thought Larry wasn't going to make it, but Larry, you made it at 7:29.24. You had 3/4 of a second. So good job, Larry. That's my timer's report.
So no need to vote today. Great job, guys. We all heard so much about your visits to the parks. It was beautiful. Jen, are you ready to get to our evaluations?
I sure am. You want me to just roll right into it? All right. Well, I am evaluating Dr. Stevens today. He gave us a speech, Yosemite, My First Love. Now, first off, I want to say I was pretty excited when I saw that our theme this week was national parks and that Gerald would be speaking today because I know he was going to have some exciting, fun stories to share. And he did not disappoint. So Gerald, as always, has interesting content that he brings, and I think he makes all of us want to travel more. His speech today, some of the things that he did well. I liked that he used the slideshow only for a portion of the speech. I thought that helped both bring us the picture and the visual that is very important to talking about a national park in a beautiful place, but it also gave us a really personal, intimate feel, and we were still able to see his speaking style. So I thought that was actually very well done. And I noticed that Gerald's made some really strong improvements by elevating his camera a little bit. I see still a little off to the right here, but I think he's done some improvements on where his camera angle is and having a little bit better lighting, still a little room for improvement, but it's way better than it had been in the past. So I think that's well done as well. Some things that I think that he could work on. Now, when he gave his presentation, he didn't use presentation mode. I'm also notorious for doing this during work meetings. However, I think if you use presentation mode, we're not looking at the little side panel of your presentation. And so I'm kind of just distracted looking like, oh, what's coming next once I've had a chance to view. So I would just consider doing that in the future. I think as well, I would suggest working on transitions between your topics, your little vignettes in your speech. So what I noticed was that your structure, you had this title, right? And you built into the end of your speech, you talked about Yosemite being your first love. But I thought you missed an opportunity at the beginning to really emphasize that fact. Your structure, you started off with the history and the facts, and you moved on through these different portions. You know, you alternated telling a story, showing us the beauty, but I would just suggest working on those transitions and starting with some sort of thread that you could build throughout. Using that title, I think would have done really well. I thought you did excellent by building that into your conclusion and telling us about the love story. Overall, there were just a lot of great pictures, and hopefully we all want to travel to Yosemite at this point. I know I want to travel anywhere, so maybe I'm a bad example. Thank you very much for sharing your story with us and giving us some tips about when we travel there. Kate, back to you.
Thank you, Jen. Our second evaluator today is Moklis. Dr. Rahman, the floor is yours.
Which is my favorite national park? I think Niagara Falls is the chosen park. I decided to retire. I go there once a week, sometimes maybe even 3 times a week. And my most favorite spot, Three Sisters Island. I usually go there to the tip and see the water rushing from Buffalo side to the Niagara Falls. It's just so awesome. Now, Larry McKenzie is a very experienced and admired speaker. He has so much rich experience in life that he shares with us. I didn't know about the national park he went for this 1-week retreat for doing some health improvement. His speech was very organized. He had some wonderful, wonderful slides to share with us. His background speaks for the speech itself. And the title was great, The Climb. In our life, climb is one of the most challenging. Is it 2 minutes to 3 minutes, or is it 1 minute to 2 minutes? I want to know the timing because our club has different rules.
2 to 3.
So why did the green come at 1.5?
My bad.
Yeah, I think last time when I spoke, Tom Moran kept flashing red, yellow, and blue, and green. You know, as a club, we need to make sure we have some strong discipline. It is the best club that I've been to, but I'm seeing a little bit of slippages. Back to the evaluation of Larry. His purpose was to persuade us. Did he successfully persuade us? Yes, he did a great job. Did he appeal to our emotions? Yes, all of us want to improve. And it befitted the theme of the meeting today. We all want to improve. And Larry, I don't know, I have very difficulty finding improvement opportunities for you. You are a very professional speaker and performer. Only thing I can suggest would be like Kate said or Jennifer said, how to make the speeches more organized in the sense, a clear beginning, and that would win you a lot of contests as well. A clear beginning, and a transition to the body. And the audience should feel the transition. Your conclusion was excellent. I mean, you are inspiring and encouraging us to do improvement in our many different aspects of life. One is, of course, public speaking or communication skill. You are an inspiration for our team, and thank you again for sharing a great experience of your life to inform us as well as persuade us to do these kind of activities. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rahman. And yes, we could tighten up. I know myself, I could also tighten up with some of our follow through. One thing I meant to say before was, please send your feedback to our speakers today. If you didn't already, send some love notes of advice in the chat or via an email, if you'd rather, to our two speakers, Gerald and Larry, today. Margot, are you ready to jump in as general evaluator? Oh, timers report for our evaluators today. My apologies, but then Margot, you're on deck. Timers report, Thomas.
Yes. Jen Zappa came in right at 245, so right at the jump from green to yellow. That's perfect, qualifies. Muklas, sorry about, I went to hover over the green button and accidentally clicked it, and then I started trying to unclick it. So I gave you the 35 seconds. I paused my timer, waited 35 seconds, and then restarted it. So you came in at 3:02. I think maybe you had practiced your speech to come in exactly 3 minutes. Maybe, I don't know, but you qualify without a problem. And I do apologize for accidentally clicking the green button. So you can vote for Jen or Muklas. Phil's in there some way. Don't Phil.
Because originally he was.
We had a third.
Right.
All right. Kate, did you want me also to call for reports?
Sure thing, if you would like to.
Okay. So Kate handled all the glitches we had today, filling in parts, making sure everything worked. Great topic, one that everybody got behind. A lot of smiling faces that I saw here, nodding along with what the speaker said. So fabulous job, Kate. I appreciate it. And you also started last week at the meeting, making sure we were going to be here, which many years ago when we met in Tom's, before we had the internet, I used to walk around with a piece of paper and get everybody to sign up. And then Jackie took that over. So it's nice to see that tradition continuing. Jen started off with a nice thick slab of bread in her sandwich. She had 7 things that she complimented Gerald on. And then she had a couple of suggestions, which was very nice, especially the point about transitions. And I like how you gave an example. And then you had just a little teeny slice on top, but finished on the positive note. So I appreciate that. Moklis, my friend, you started with all kinds of compliments. You had 6 compliments up front, what you really liked. And then you got into the club. And while we do have some glitches, that's not the time for it. Is during the evaluation. This is the time to focus only on the speaker. If you want to throw something in the chat, whatever. But as a DTM, you should be able to sort of fly with it. Then you went back to some more compliments. You had 1 suggestion and you finished off with a number of compliments at the end. So you went, basically, if you started the front, you had like 10 things up front you liked, 1 suggestion, and 5 at the end to compliment. So both of our evaluators made sure our 2 speakers felt encouraged, and I hope all of you did as well. I will note that I did a little research online, joys of having 2 computers here. Our closest national park is in Auburn, New York, the Harriet Tubman National Park. Someplace I haven't been yet, but that is actually a national park. And Mark has signed off that the New York Harbor is a national park. So there's the 2 complete parks in New York State. The others are national sites. And I hope to preserve some memories by visiting them sometime in the future. The only national park I can recall being to off the top of my head is Grand Canyon. And like everybody else, I probably have a little piece of petrified wood somewhere because that was in the 1960s. So I'm going to start in with our reports. I'm going to start with our master. Beth, could you tell us how we did today with ahs and ums?
Thank you, Margot. We did pretty well overall. Some of the speeches or table topics, I actually got into listening so much. I might have missed a few, but for the most part, pretty well. We did have ums, we had ahs, we had several people using and that filler word going in. I was a little surprised, even our speakers had but overall, a pretty good day. Thank you, Madam Evaluator, General Evaluator.
Thank you very much. Moving into our grammarian, and no, I did not write any notes down today, Marty. I left it all to you. So please help us out.
Thank you, Margot. I had a challenging job today listening for the words, phrases, but you all helped me preserve and persevere more so. Mark, I like the word, Mark Campos, I like the word profound that you use. Thomas Heldwing, chronological integrity of the timer. Very good use of the English language. Carol mentioned her favorite park is Letchworth, and she mentioned she was glad it was preserved. Dave Licata painted a nice picture and he said, "We go to these parks to cope and breathe the fresh air." Gerald mentioned an excellent use of the English language, pristine lakes and streams. Phil Russell mentioned visiting the national parks is the greatest way, I believe he said, to preserve them. And that's a wonderful thing, Phil. Larry McKenzie, I enjoyed your presentation, your slides, beautiful. You mentioned, you said, this is the top. And then I probably would have rephrased that, Larry, and I would have said, this is a picture from the top. Jen mentioned that Gerald's title is very apropos, and she told us why during her evaluation. Moakley's mentioned that his most favorite park, and I probably would rephrase that as my suggestion would be my favorite park. Just leave out the word most. Tracy mentioned that in her opinion, the Erie Canal is an asset to the state, and I definitely agree. It's definitely an asset to the state. And then Tracy mentioned, we have so much land too, and then you stopped and then you said for, and I believe what you meant is to say is we have so much land to experience, different parks and areas to experience. That wraps up my grammarian report. Thank you. Mr. Toastmaster, Madam General Evaluator, thank you.
Thank you, Marty. I appreciate that. How about our tech and gesture master, Sylvia? And I know I was on mute. Lewis has been attending and helping with this entire meeting and helping me keep notes, my little black cat. So how did everyone else do with their tech and gesture, Sylvia?
Well, I didn't have enough of coffee this morning. I'm sorry. Kate, did you get a new camera? You look very clear today. Your little box, get that little box? Your little box was very clear, your picture, your face, everything. But the background was a little blurry. And then all of a sudden now it's real clear. I don't know what happened. If you moved a little bit, Eric is fading in and out of his background and he had a little bit of sound issue. I don't know if his headset was too close to the mic of the computer and was echoing. A lot of hands. I did see people talking with their hands today. I saw our two speakers kind of going like 1, 2, kind of making their point, getting across, which was nice. And they both used the screen share or PowerPoint presentations very smoothly. Let's see. Mulkless had his hat on. That was pretty cool. He's the only one. Phil also used his hands using a count in one, like getting from one place to another place. One person, and I did not write it down. I forgot to put the person's name, but I liked when they were talking. I think it was Phil, actually, now that I think about it. When you were talking, you're talking about something way back you used a gesture. Like, because I didn't have enough of coffee. I know there was many more, but Kate, your screen is the clearest out of all of us today that I see. I think I'm gonna have to wash my lens.
There you go. Thank you, Sylvia. Appreciate that. Jackie, you have some questions for us that you can quiz us about.
I do have a few questions prepared. For instance, who did Mike quote this morning?
Theodore Roosevelt.
Perfect subject for today. And where was the check in Mark's joke?
In the mail.
In the mail.
It was a good one. How old was Tracy when she camped in the wintertime?
12.
Probably the same size she is now. And Gerald told us a lot about his first love. What year was his first love designated a national park by Teddy Roosevelt?
1916.
1903.
1903, yeah.
Teddy Roosevelt actually designated a number of parks starting in 1901 through 1909 and took advantage of the Antiquities Act, which is pretty interesting, that was passed in 1906. Let's see. What state was Snow Canyon State Park in, where Larry spent a lot of time?
Utah.
Very good. Looks like a nice state to visit. How much time did Larry have left before he would have gone over?
A quarter of a second.
Three quarters of a second, I think Thomas said. And who did not get a red light during table topics?
Phil and Gerald.
Phil, what I heard was Phil did not get a red light.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Jackie. And now that I've given everybody the last chance to use the word preserve, how about our word master, Larry Eggert?
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Probably one of the easiest days I've had job-wise. The word was given to me and all I had to do was mark it down. So thanks, Kate. Interesting use of the word today. It started out really slow. And as we got into it, it got more popular. And at the end, it continued to be popular. So I think normally it starts out big and ends small. Well, it just was the reverse today. So I guess it was a pretty good word, Kate. So great choice. I did notify the FBI that there are 3 people in the club that had stolen some preserved wood from various parks. I was on the phone just now, so you might be getting a call later on. I don't know. But that's my report.
You'll notice Tracy disappeared.
This is all being recorded too.
Yeah, we know where she works though. But I think it's interesting because everybody that was in the meeting today used the word at least once, which is again a good choice of words. And I gave Mike Florio the benefit of the doubt. He used conservation, but I counted that as using preservation. And that's my report, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you very much. And for those keeping track, Phil is our next week's Toastmaster, and his theme is I Love New York. And in case anybody in the club didn't know it, the Winery at Margin Manor has been named the 8th most haunted place in New York State by I Love New York. So there's your local connection. Who knew? With that, Kate, do you want to take it back, or shall I throw the lectern over to Thomas as our president?
Either way, I'm glad you brought up Phil and our speakers. I will speak, and Also Len, and thank you Moklis for jumping in. Christine was a maybe on her icebreaker, but she's waiting until August. And the roles are all filled for next week, so take a look at the agenda if you did not already. And then
I don't want to have to call you.
It's already set, but I'll work on it for the rest of the quarter. So.
I know, but I need to have everybody confirmed.
Oh, yes.
Because I don't want to have to call you.
Oh,
and I will.
Yes.
Yes, Dad.
I thought you meant set up the rest of the quarter, so I don't have to call you because I know you will.
I want the confirmations.
Go ahead, Margot.
Kate, did you want to check in with?
I was just
Karen?
thanking Dad for the
is Karen
reminder.
available? Our guest Karen, are you there? I know the audio is sometimes tricky. She did chat to us that she was looking at photos.
I'm available. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, we can. Can you hear us still?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can hear and see you.
Okay, great. Well, I was so excited this morning at 6 a.m. when I realized I could join you all. And it was worth every minute, like usual. I thought the topic was excellent, really interesting, really engaging, really relatable. And I thought Kate executed her role as Toastmaster quite well. To me, your club has really elevated the role of Toastmaster, and it's been such a helpful source of modeling for me of what that role can include and look like. Again, I thought the topic was engaging. I thought the meeting was interesting. I can't help thinking about how visiting national parks would be ideal for my family. This is not something I had ever thought of before. For my husband, he will appreciate the nearly free price tag of national parks. For my son Mitchell, who's 10, he will love the fact that it is outdoors and there's a sense of adventure. And for my son Joshua, I think who's 14, he could really use the perspective that being somewhere outdoors can include. I've been thinking lately about how selfishness and boredom can be linked, and selfishness and excessive entertainment can be linked. And I think there can be a humbling aspect of being in nature. Also, Joshua really appreciates a challenge. I forgot that so many national parks had opportunities for challenging climbing and really adventurous hiking. Neither of my boys want anything to be mediocre or weak or boring. So anyway, I'm excited about the possibilities, and thank you for the chance to take a moment with the microphone. I hope to see you again soon.
Thank you. Thank you, Karen.
That's Madam President of Rhetorical Roar this year. Congratulations, Karen. And thanks for joining us. Go ahead, Thomas. I'll pass it over to you, I guess.
Okay. With only 2 minutes left, we're going to have a toast to all of our winners. Everyone participated. Everyone spoke. Everyone's a winner this morning. But for the ribbons, we had a tie at table topics between Phil and Gerald, our two people that qualified. Larry, of course, won Speaker of the Day uncontested. And our evaluator of the day is Jen Zampa. So again, congratulations to everybody. Let me take a drink. As you know, we are working on everything through Pathways online. I'd like to just say that if you are like me, this is just a personal thing to myself, is get on there and go ahead and complete those speeches, put those in. I know I'm behind. I did a level 1 speech, but I'd already completed all the level 2s. So I have to go in there and complete all of those. So I'm going to be doing that this evening. I encourage everyone to get on there, get your next speech, get your plan for your next speech, get it ready. Like today, when we have 2 speakers, it would be nice if we had everyone ready to give a speech right away. With that, I think that it calls it to an end at 8:30. Please stand. Oh, we have an announcement possibly from Tom.
No, actually, I just have a question. Is there an update on the consolidation of the online and in-person meeting?
Not at this time, but if anybody wants to stick around for Post Toasties, we can chit chat.
Okay.
And with that, it's 8:30. Thank you everyone for being here. Stay here for Post Toasties where we'll talk about that and many, many other exciting topics. Thank you all for being here.